doing good. God's grace is the one that has pulled me through every single trial and
Isn't that the
tribulation.
truth, John? That is so true.
And
I
I'm
think it
grateful
helps.
to the Lord that you are in my life. I'm grateful to the Lord that the Lord brought us
And you
close.
know, it's so funny. We've been friends we've been buddies for like, I don't know, going on 35 years now.
That's
I
right.
mean, that's a long time, and we lose each other, then we come back. So, but you know, that's how God wants it, you know. So I just figure if that's the way the Father wants it, well, that's the way it's going to be, you know, because we've been friends for so long, you know.
That's because the Lord brought us together in the first place.
Right. And we're still together, you know, no matter what.
Well, because
and anyways, how is Grossmont doing? Now, anybody that we
I
know
don't go to Grossmont. I just help Patty and I help all the other unions outside of the hospital. I haven't been in that hospital since 2020, since the pandemic.
Wow.
But all the rules have changed now because the pandemic rules are they're gone, so visitors could go there. I've just been so busy with Sharp Coronado, and I love Sharp Coronado because they are a smaller hospital, and Sharp Coronado's like what Grossmont used to be when you and I met back in the good old days.
Yeah, I wish they were. If that was the case, we'd probably still both working.
Yeah, we'd still be, but Sharp Coronado is like what Sharp Grossmont used to be. They're smaller, and then I like Sharp Memorial too. So Grossmont, well, like I said, I have my reservations about Grossmont because they still, because they're so short of staff all the time.
Yeah.
But Patty told me the same people are still in housekeeping and dietary.
Really? And Bertha's still there, and what's her name, Marie?
Bersa retired, but Rosemary's no. Bertha's still there, but Rosemary is only working part time. Yep, she's only working part time. Francisco and Demesio, I can't believe they're still there. Good.
They are?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I thought
That's
I thought they would have retired by now.
Yeah, I think so too, huh? Because, yeah, they're about my age now, and that's 6?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they should have been retired a long time ago.
I mean, you remember how Francisco used to always kiss ass with the office?
Yeah, Well, now, I mean, me and you are sitting, we're retired, we got it, doing our own thing now.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, but, you know, that's the way they were. That's the way they're going to stay, I guess.
Well, Demesio was unique, though. You got to admit, Demesio was not like his brother.
I like Demesio, yeah.
In fact, he was the one that helped with the union, remember? You always had him do all the translating.
I like Demesio, his brother.
But,
Francisco, remember, we didn't really do that, you know?
But, Vi went back to Arizona. She left about 2-3 years ago. She's back in Arizona.
Oh, wow. So she's gone too now.
Yeah, and Marilyn left a long time ago. So there's nobody on the PMs that we would know. Oh, Kerry, he retired about 2-3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny, huh?
But
we're still kicking, thank Father. Yeah, we're still kicking.
You know who I remember the most? Granny.
Oh my God, Granny! How that got dark, Oh, and John, they got that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's been gone for how many years now?
Oh, well, she passed away in 2012. Yeah, 2000. Yep. You know, one thing about Granny, I remember one of her old sayings. Best you not,
Yeah, I remember that.
She'd say, best you not,
And then she was talking about the union, and when I turned around, she was on the board. Remember, that was so funny.
I know.
Oh my, that was so funny. And I turned around and I looked at her. She was sitting there on the chair. on the table,
Yeah.
and she looked up at me, and I went, "I'll be god darned." She was on the bargain table, remember?
Yes.
Oh my God, Granny was something else.
She was, and do you remember the time that Granny was watching out for me, and she said, "Don't eat that, John," because she
I
did.
know, remember? Yeah, but John, then I remember I had to cover for you and tell the girl, "Oh no, see, he's just tasting it for it." They said, "Look at John. How come we can't eat it and he's got it? He's eating everything. He's eating cookies, donuts, sodas." And I said, "Oh no, he shouldn't be doing that." I said, "Well, I had to stick up for you." So I said, "Well, you know what? He's tasting it just in case, they're trying to poison us."
Yeah.
They looked around and they said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." So, that's why he's doing that. They said, "Oh." But otherwise, I mean, you would have been in the doghouse if they would have knew what you were really doing.
Well, yeah, because do you remember that was during the union election? They were trying to, management was trying to give us cookies and all that, but I wanted to test it out because look what
You were testing it out in case they were going to poison us.
because
Yeah.
Bitsy, for some reason, Granny knew that when people offered me food at lunch, she knew there wasn't something that wasn't right about that food.
Yeah, I remember.
But
that was so funny. And they said, "Hey, Connie, why aren't you going to eat that?" And I remember for lunch, and I used to say, "Well, John's going to come right now. He'll eat it." And you would come, and there you were sitting there. "Hey, John, you want this food?" Yeah. And so you would eat it all, remember?
you remember you would offer me food a lot, even back in the days of when Robert was alive.
Yeah, I remember. I was always giving you food, remember?
Oh, I don't. I remember Robert used to get upset when we would joke around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was so funny.
Remember?
But we had a lot of good. Maybe that's why we stuck together, because we had a lot of good fun.
Do you remember we were in the basement? Remember, and I was walking, and you laughed the way I walked, right?
Yeah. He was all mad at us.
And
remember?
what did Robert say when he saw me walking feminine?
He would say, "Stop that, John. Stop that." And he would still turn around and do it, remember? And he was still talking to me and Robert. And when I turned around, you were still walking in your high heels. That was so funny. I mean, we had a lot of good memories then. A lot.
We sure did. And you remember you called me Peaches?
Peaches, yeah, Peaches. And he said, "Good calling them Peaches." I said, "Well, he is Peaches, And he would, "Connie, come over here." And this and that. And I go, yeah. We would pay attention to him,
Oh,
And
yeah.
he would get mad at us, remember?
Do you remember Robert would look for me, and what would you say?
I'd say, "Well, he went." He said, "Well, Connie, where's John at?" And I'd say, "Oh, yeah." Well, she said, "I know you saw him." "Yeah, he did." "Well, see, he went that way, and you went the other way all the time. Then he come back." I wasn't there. Well, I said, "I don't know where he was at, but that's the last time I saw him heading up that way." I would never tell him where you were at. Never. And he knew I was lying.
Yeah, but even remember Janine would look for me?
Oh, yeah, I do the same thing. Janine, Santa, everybody. I just, they would say, "Where's John at?" "Well, he went that way." "Or no, he went the other way." They'd say, "Well, how come we haven't seen him?" I say, "I don't know, but that's the last time I seen him." And they believe me.
And the part I like, the best story, Connie, and I love you I love you talking about it over and over again. The Christmas time, Santa made those hard-boiled deviled eggs.
Oh, that was funny, yeah. And then I told you, "Hey, John," you said, you came down and you said, "Hey, Connie, guess what?" Well, I said, "What?" He said, I ate almost all those eggs." And I said, "You did?" And then he said, "Yeah, I ate all the deviled eggs." And I said, "Well, did you leave anything?" You say, "Yeah, a couple." I said, "Well, you know what, John? Go back there and eat the rest of them." And you did. And then the next day you came back with a fat stomach. And you said, "Connie, I'll never forget that. Connie, do you have anything for the stomach? My stomach hurt." I went, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, the deviled eggs, And then I said, "Yeah." You said, yeah, do you have any Pepto-Bismol or anything? But I said, no, but go up there to the nurses and see if they have any. Oh, that's a good idea. You would go. I'll never forget that. That'll stay with me till the day I die.
Because remember, we were getting even with Santa.
Yeah. We were mad at Santa because she was always telling on us, you know. But then I don't know what she always thought. She always thought, if we could find out any information, it would be Connie, about John or anybody else,
So how did you run? How did you run into Santa about the deviled eggs? How did that happen?
Oh, because remember I went down to get some towels, and she was down there in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Remember? Oh yeah, I went down to get some towels, and she was in the basement, and she was looking in the refrigerator, and she said, "Connie," I said, "Yeah." She said, "You know what?" She said, "Somebody ate the rest of my deviled eggs." I said, "Really?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." She said, "Well, I think John did it." And I said, "Really?" I said, "No, I don't think so, Santa." And then she says, "Well, why?" I said, "Because John was up there with me." I said, "You know what, John? You know what, Santa? I think it was a 4 p.m. And I said, think about it. The timing, your eggs are missing, and I think it was them. And then she said, "You know what, Connie? I think it was them too." And I said, "Okay." So then after that, she never blamed you. She never blamed you again. She never said nothing about you in those devil eggs because I told her, it was a PM chef. I said, that was so funny, yeah.
And she went away in the elevator. And didn't you tell me you started laughing after she left?
Yep, that was so true. That was so true.
She believed you.
Yeah, that was so true. I remember. And then I would look around and I'd say, "Honey, do you think she drank? Do you think she ate my devil? Believe me?" But I said, "No, John, don't worry about it. She believed you. Yeah, she believed you."
You remember she used to ask you, "Connie, who's putting all this union literature out?"
I remember that too. And I said, "You know what, Santa?" She said, "Well, I think it's John and all of them. They're putting the literature all over there." And I said, "No, Santa, I don't think it was them." And then I said, I have not seen John or nobody nobody putting literature. I said, "But you know what, Santa? I think it's a PM shift because if you notice when we come back in the morning, there's literature all over the place." And then she say, "Oh yeah, huh? Well, they probably did it." Because I was always blaming the 4 p.m. 4 p.m. didn't know what thing that was going on with us,
No,
Santa never knew it. I never said nothing to Santa.
Oh, and
I don't know, for some reason they always believed me.
And you remember when I worked with you on the floor in the Women's Center? Remember shortly after they fired Robert? And then they put me in the Women's Center. And who was it? Maria Guzman? She accused me and you talking about the union. And I think you went to...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. But then do you remember when I went after her because she said something? And I remember going after Maria. I remember going after her. Oh, my God. I would have killed her. I would have killed Maria Guzman, but
you went down. You took her down in the office. Remember?
Yep, I sure did.
Because
sure did.
She was trying to get me in trouble.
I know, and I really had it out with her. And after that, she shut up. She never said nothing no more. But oh no, and I remember, I tell her, "Well, take all your little goonies with you." The PM shift, some of the girls, because they were with her, you take those little goonies out there because I had a whole bunch of them in the daytime. I had all my little friends in the daytime. She had her little friends at nighttime. They were nothing compared to the ones that, Maria and Pina and all of them. They were nothing compared to our crowd, So, yeah, she got mad, but nobody paid attention to her.
Yeah, and nobody knew until the union election that you and I were the ringleaders.
You got that right, and they found out. And don't you remember that our manager? Oh wow! You know what? We're gonna have a big pizza party after this is over. And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, you think so, huh? Oh, I'm gonna get you now." I remember that so good. I said, "Yeah, sure." And then after we won, he just looked at us and then he tried to calm me down there to the office, and I threw a yellow thing down on the thing. And he tried to accuse me of that, and I told him, You know what? I said, I did not do that. I said, you remember, there's a PM shift,
Yep.
you know, and there's a PM shift. So don't try to say I left that yellow thing there, you know. But he was mad because we won the union, you know.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, well, you know, if you don't believe me, I said, I mean, I don't care. I don't care one way, you know. So if you try to fire me, do whatever you want to. You just try to go. I don't really care.
Right.
You know, I'm not working because I have to. I'm working here because that's why they could never fire me, because they knew I was not there because I had to work. You know, they knew that I was working, but they knew I was married to a military. So you know, they probably figured, oh no, she doesn't have to work. You
Well,
know.
how come they didn't set me up like they did with Robert? Remember how they set Robert up and they got him fired?
Oh yeah, they got him fired good. But Robert was nothing like you. Robert was terrible, you know. And you know, you were quiet. You were very quiet. So I remember I had to defend you, you know, and Robert, nobody defended Robert, but we had to defend you.
Do you
So
remember
that's
that Robert wanted to be in charge of the union, remember?
Oh yeah, that's why he could not stand me. But you know, I mean, I was just a person that had a lot of like Maria Pina would say, you have a lot of charisma. You just have a lot of, you know, you're just friendly and you know, everybody likes you.
Well,
you
that's
know?
why I could count on you helping the girls. I worked with the guys, you worked with the girls.
Yes, and I knew.
Do you remember you used to tell me underground?
Yep, underground. We are going underground. I mean, we had so much fun
You
there.
used to look at me in the eyes at the end of the day and say, hey, listen, I need to talk with you underground.
And you would look at me and go, okay. And we'd go underground, remember?
We would go somewhere away from the hospital to talk.
Yep, we would. I
remember we used
that.
to sit in your car after work for an hour or two and talk?
I remember that. But those are the good days, you know?
And I mean, if I remember correctly, tell me, Robert, was he working in a women's center and he got all mad at Ellen Healy?
Yeah, that's where it happened.
Okay.
He was in the women's center downstairs. Remember, where me and Maria Pina used to work?
Yeah. And
that's where he was.
And you guys were in the closet, janitor's closet, listening, right, or something?
Yep. No, we were out there on the floor making beds. But when it came to tallying what Robert really did, me and Maria didn't tell him. We just told him we were in the closet, you know, doing that. But no, we were right there, and we were making up rooms and cleaning up the rooms when Robert did that. So we saw him. That was the thing. We heard him and saw him. But when it came to tallying, you know, what Helen and them wanted us to say, you know, we didn't say that. We said that we don't know because we were in the closet, you know. And they said, oh, they believed us, you know. But no, we were out there. We heard everything he said. But, I mean, we didn't come out because you know, I mean, he was cussing. I mean, he was arguing and hollering at the nurses, Helen Hay. And, you know, we were making up the rooms, cleaning up the rooms, but we didn't want the patients were there, remember? And he was yelling, and all the patients heard him and everything, and oh my gosh, it was terrible. So we didn't want nothing to do with it. So that's why we just, you know, me and Maria Pina said that, because they came down and asked us, and I just said, no, we were in the closet, you know.
Well, you know what, it was, because Robert, he told me, he said, oh, she was yelling at him and all that. That's what he told me. He said, she was yelling at him.
No, he started it. He started it because they wanted him to bring some blankets and everything now, and you know, and he was busy. He said, I'll bring him up when I want to, and you know, and I ain't got, and this and that, and you know, blah, 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 you know. But he was actually hollering, so that, you know, that's basically what he got.
And then they suspended him, and then after that they
fired him. Yeah.
But
they fired him.
Little did they know, I was totally different. Isn't that funny? They put me in the women's center right after that.
Oh yeah, you went to the women's center with me, remember?
Yeah, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know.
And little did they know, we were I said we got happy because you were doing the linden down there with me. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
Remember Pina?
Yes.
Yeah, they put you with me. So they probably said, you know what, we can't. Connie's got too many friends. And and then I was. Oh, Demeso was a really good friend of mine too.
Right.
Because Demeso said, don't worry, Connie. I don't know about my brother, but you know what? I have your back, okay?
Yeah, Demesio had our back all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he said that. Don't worry, Connie. I got your back, and so did the other guys, okay? And I say, yeah? They say, yeah. He said, don't worry about it, Connie. I've been talking to them. We're going to have your back, okay? I said, oh, okay. But he did it, He did it.
Yeah, because when you think about it, you and me and Alex were the main ones that were behind the scenes.
Right. And I said, oh, man, don't worry. I said, we have it, in the bag. So I'm not even going to worry about it. And I was so confident. That we were going to get the union in. I remember Pat was all nervous.
You remember Pat? She was really nervous, and she didn't have very much.
She didn't do nothing. No, I mean, well, it was actually you and me and Alex.
We did it all. Think about it.
Yeah, she didn't do nothing. I mean, she couldn't even look up when the voting was counted.
You remember that when they were counting the ballots? She had her head down. She had her head down. Oh,
I was standing right behind her, and when the votes were coming in, she had her head down. She was covered. I said, "What is she doing that for?"
Yeah.
And it was me and you that were standing, I think, behind her.
Yeah, we were. You, me, and Alex.
Right. Yep. And so, and I was, what is she? I mean, she's supposed to be the, help, doing for us, and yet we're doing for her.
Yeah.
So actually, we're the ones that brought the union in, not her.
Not her. Right. And guess what? You remember you and me and Alex jumped up and down the minute we were 74 versus 48.
Yeah, and I saw that. What's his name? Oh, my God. Our manager.
Yeah.
Remember? When they lost
the election.
God, I saw his face. I said, "Oh my God, he is pissed."
Yep.
But I didn't care. We didn't care. Remember?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah, our manager was pissed. So was Chris Ann. You remember that tall blonde? Chris?
Yep.
Oh, they all walked out. Betty was mad. Remember Betty Turner?
Yeah. And what happened to her? Is she union now?
She's supposed to be retiring in about a year from now. Yeah, she's got like one more year to go. But I remember, because what was it, Pat? She talked with you and said something about Robert being involved, or.
Oh yeah. She wanted Robert to come in with me, and she wanted me to work with Robert to get the union in. But I already knew something, and I told Pat that's not going to work. And then she said, "Why?" And I said, "Because nobody likes him, nobody likes him, And then she said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, but you know what? I want to work with John." And she said, "John?" I said, "Yeah." And I even told that to that man Nicholas.
Oh, Dick Henry Nicholas. Yes.
Yes. And I told him, "Nope, I'm not going to work with. I'm not working with Robert. So if you get Robert in here, I'm not going to do it. And then she said, so he looked at Pat, and he said, "Well, if that's what she wants, give it to her." And so Pat said, "Okay, then we'll not have Robert do it. We'll have John do it." And I said, "Yeah, I want to work with John." So that's how we got in there.
Yeah.
But it was because they didn't want to. At first they said, "No, not John, not John, Connie." And I said, "No," I said, "but I'd rather take John than Robert." And then she said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." So she went and told Nicholas, and Nicholas told her, "Give her what she wants," and he did it.
Henry Nicholas did it because, number one, he also knew me long before Pat. So think about that, because you remember Doris and Manny. They were the ones before Pat. So,
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when you always would Pat say, "Where's John?" And what would you say?
Oh, I don't know. Well, the last time I saw him, he was going that way, I remember one time when I walked in down to the union, I went and walked in the union hall. You were already there. You were you were in the machine. You know, you were in the machine, fax machine. Remember on
Yep.
the other side.
Yeah.
And then Pat and that other girl, that other lady.
Yeah.
That black lady.
Oh,
remember?
Carolyn.
Yeah, and they said, "Where is John, Connie?" And I'd say, "What? I don't know." And I saw you. That was the thing. I went around the corner and I saw you. And then when I went to talk to them, they said, "Connie, where is John?" And I looked at them and I said, "I don't know. He's around here somewhere, but I don't know. Have you seen him? No. But you were in the fax machine when I went to the corner. I saw you, and then I came walking back in like I didn't even see you.
How did you get them not to go in the back room though?
Because I went to the front and I started talking to them. So what I was doing was I was making them stay over there in the front desk, remember? And I was talking to them, and I wouldn't let them. We were just talking, and you know, they couldn't go around looking for you because they were talking with me, you know, about how was I going to be able to do it? How would I convince the girls? So we started talking, and yet I knew that you were in the copy machine because I saw you. That was so funny. Yeah. I better get off the phone now because I got to go wash my hair.
Me too, and I got to get ready to go. But Baby Doll, it's been so great to talk to you.
I know, me too. I know. But we needed a good cheer up. That's what we needed.
I know, because like I said, we've always covered for each other. And after all, you've known me since I was 34 years old.
I know.
And I was skinny back then, you remember?
Oh, you were skinny and you had hair, remember?
Oh,
you had hair that. I remember that.
And then I remember, Connie, I said to you, when I came to work with that black guy, I said, well, I fell down. I drank too much.
Yeah, and I looked at you and I said, boy, you could really tell him.
And you knew
I said, okay, John, okay, Missy.
What did you think when I said that?
I knew right away you weren't telling me the truth. I knew that how could you fall like that and hit your eye, you know, and hit your eye like that? No, it had to be Robert, because I knew his temper. I knew how he was, you know, and I knew how he was with you. So especially when he bought that kid, you know, that stuff, and, you know, what about you, you know?
Oh, I forgot about that. Didn't he ask you for some money or something?
Oh, yeah. Remember he borrowed that money from me? I think it was like $300. Yeah. And then he started buying that kid stuff. I mean, I wasn't going to tell on him. I wasn't really going to tell the office about him. But I threatened him I was, but I never did. You know? But he wound up paying. No, after I saw him, that, you know, the way he was treating you, I saw a couple of times I saw him go to the hospital and you would hand over your check to him. And I would look at you and say, what's that all about? Oh, no. And then after that, he had that kid with him. Oh, no. That was not going to happen.
He had that 18-year-old kid that he would buy clothes for, take to the movies. And I think he used your money for that.
Yeah, he sure did. And he bought him something he said, oh, look what I bought that kid, you know. And I said, how dare you, you know. I said, yeah. I said, well, what about the money you owe me? He said, yeah, well, I'll get. I said, no, you've been telling me that for over 3 months. You have to pay me my money back. Well, if you don't do it, I'm going to go to the office and I'm going to tell what you did to me. And then he said, oh, I knew you were going to do that. I said, you got that right. I never went to the office and told him. I just said,
no, of course not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that was so much fun. Anyways, I got to get my hair washed.
Yeah, me too. And can you still receive pictures? I have some.
Yes.
Good, because I have some beautiful pictures of me with the suit and the tie, and
you gotta send me, face them over to me. So
and they gave me some flowers, and I'm also posing by two beautiful girls, but again, they can't replace Connie Garza.
I know. Beautiful Connie and Rob and John.
I know.
Bitsy,
but Granny would say, "You Connie got the fucking union in."
And then what happened was she was sitting at the table, and I looked down at her, and she was, remember, she was heading the union. I went, oh no, she didn't do that. You know,
Yeah, because
the
she said
bargaining
she.
table.
Yeah, she said she didn't want no part of it.
Yeah, remember? And then when after we won and everything, she was sitting on the table,
Yeah.
bargaining table. I just said, oh no, she didn't. That was so much fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was it. I'll never forget when you were the patient in the hospital. You had
Uh-huh.
all of your family bow down to me. I just like,
Yeah, that's the Indian tradition.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
well,
when you're family, that's what they do.
well,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you got Indian in you 100%. So I mean, what can I say?
Oh yeah, I sure
I
do.
think what did you tell me between your Indian blood and my Asian blood
Yeah,
together?
because I have Asian too. When you're Indian, you have partly Asian too. That's why maybe too we got together so close because I understood you really good.
Yeah, because you looked me right in the eye. You looked me
Uh-huh.
straight in the eye, like it was like you already knew. Okay.
Right. Right.
And you knew if I was telling you the truth or if I wasn't.
I got to know you so good that I knew you. You know, I knew when you were telling me the truth, and I know when you were telling me the truth because you couldn't look at me in the eyes. You know, oh, I remember you were telling the stories and you would look away, but then when you were telling me the truth, you would look at me, and I knew, oh no, John's telling me the truth. But
So
when you were,
when I told you about my black eye, did I look at you or no?
no, you had your eyes turned going the other way. You couldn't
Oh.
look at me straight in the eye. I said, no, he's telling a story, you know, but I didn't tell you nothing.
You
Oh
knew
my
better
God.
because you knew that I don't drink. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. That's how I knew you were not. That's how come I knew it wasn't the eye. You know, how could a railroad track hit your eye like that? I don't think so.
And another thing, before I hang up, you always said always used to say that I said I wasn't going to live long or something like that.
You say, "Oh, don't worry, Connie. I'm not going to live that long." And I would look at you and say, "John, you're going to live a long time." "Oh no, you're not. You are going to live." You say, "Oh no, Connie. I think I'm going to die young and this and that." "No, you're not." And look at how old are you now?
65.
You ain't going nowhere, brother.
Even though I'm 65.
You're not going nowhere. You have a long life.
Is
Yeah.
it in my Asian?
It's in your DNA.
It is.
It's in your DNA.
Just like you, you're Indian.
Just like me. Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's a DNA, and I'm 67.
You
So
don't.
you
No,
see-
you don't sound like it.
I know. I don't. Sometimes I feel like it though.
No, you sound like you're still 51 years old. You know what I'm saying? You have
Yeah.
that young spirit. And when you look at me, even though I've gained 20 pounds, I still look the same, don't I?
Yeah, you do. You look the same.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I
Oh,
gotta find my picture so I can send it to you or get it to you.
okay, yeah. Peter Pan has kind of been messing around lately.
I could tell. I know you have.
How do you know?
And how is John? I mean, what's his name? Jose.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine. We've been really good. We help each other. We take care of each other, and we're doing fine. Yeah, he's doing great. But how did you know I've been getting into trouble?
I know it. I know you because you know when you get in trouble, when you're in trouble, you don't call that much, you know. And when you're not in trouble, you'll call. And so I said, when you called, I said, "Oh, that's Miss Peter Pan. He's gonna be okay. He's gonna call me." And
Well, because guess what? I met a neighbor. His name is, and he's Mexican. He lives right across from my room, and his name is Carlos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. He
Uh-huh.
started talking to me when I was washing clothes in the laundry room.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
And I took him over and I played the piano. He loved that, and then he had me help him with his TV set. And then a couple weeks ago, I took him out to lunch. Now he wants to take me to lunch.
Oh, man, and then pretty soon he's going to want to take you somewhere else.
Well, no, guess
so
what?
You might as well get ready.
Well, after I took him out to lunch, he said, "Can you give me a massage?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear something else.
And then that guy I was telling you about, Pablos, while I'm going out with his boyfriend.
Uh-huh. Oh my
No, because
gosh.
because this guy's named Israel. He broke up with Pablo, so they don't have anything to do with each other. And I'm not really so anyway. I'm going out with Israel, and then okay, Peter Pan has gone out. Yes, maybe not all day, all night, but yes, Peter Pan has gone out.
Oh, I know you have. Oh, I know that. I already know. You could be doing whatever you're at or doing whatever you want, but then I know when you're still going to be Peter Pan. You'll always be, flying here and there, and that's what you're doing right now, flying here and there. And I know you've been having fun. I know you. So, you're not saying, "Oh, I haven't." Oh, yes, you have.
Yeah, but I'm 65. I'm supposed to slow down.
Yeah, but with you, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. So I don't, Well, you can tell me, well, I'm slowing down. I'm gonna say, oh no, you're not.
No wonder Robert used to get irritated at me because I was hyper.
You were very hyper, even at work. Oh my gosh, I know.
Do you remember you and I got 2 rooms, 3 rooms, discharges done at the same time between both of us?
Yeah, remember?
Oh my
Oh,
god!
we had so much fun.
And we work up an appetite. And remember old Gilbert? He's always trying to figure out what you and I were up to.
He never did. Yeah, he tried. I'm gonna butter up to Connie, and I bet you he told the office, I'm gonna butter up to Connie, and then after, she's gonna think that I'm really her friend, so I could go tell the office. Oh no, that was not gonna happen. That was not gonna happen.
No,
I don't care what he said. I don't care what he said or asked me because it was not gonna happen. That's how I put it. Yeah.
yeah. It just and then when you and Ricky were there, what did you think? You actually thought I was still working there when you and Ricky were there?
Oh yeah. I asked Mary Flanagan. She said, "Oh no, he left a long time ago." I went, "What?" Ricky said, "He's gone." I said, "Yeah." That's what And Ricky heard it, and he said, "Wow." Oh wow! I said I did. Well, he said he was going to leave, and he did. So I remember that too. It all was also good. I better get over there. And
Yeah,
wash
me
my
too.
hair.
You and I, you know what? You and I, in the past, we talked one time 5 hours.
Yeah, we could really talk, darling.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, my baby
But
doll.
we'll get back to it, though.
Yes, we will. But anyway, I want you to know now you're talking to a local celebrity.
Okay, my little celebrity. Well, I knew one day you were going to become something, and I guess you hit it now,
Well,
huh?
well, you were right. I didn't think I'd be up on the stage talking to 500 people.
You got that right. Uh-huh.
But
We
you
did it for the union, so I know that you could do it now.
but you
Yeah.
told me a long time ago on that bus ride that I was a very smart person.
You're very smart. I always told you're going to do it because you're smart. And you would look at me like, I don't think. Oh, yes, you are. Don't tell me you're not. You can do it. You could do it. And look at now you're on stage with 500 people, like we were the union.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm on my own. So
That's good, darling. That's good.
well,
Okay, darling.
okay, baby, I got to
give you
get
a call.
going. I'll give you a
I'm glad
call.
we talked.
Right, I'm glad we talked. And hey, we got to have lunch sometime.
Oh yeah, we do. We do. Yeah, we do. We got to get together.
Tell your
Yeah,
daughter
yeah.
that, or I'm going to take her, kidnap her away out of the country. No.
Okay, yeah, you can send her back to China, okay? Okay, darling.
Okay. All right. I'll talk with you later. All right. Love you.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.